You're looking pretty excited today.
I know. Let's talk about The Raid. Yeah. According to virtually every critic who saw it, The Raid 2 is one of the finest action movies ever made, thanks in part to its kick-ass fight scenes. Fight scenes, it turns out, were the result of many months of training between the actors and extras to ensure there was a level of mutual trust between them.
So we're not just talking about The Raid today.
No.
We're also talking about just martial arts movies in general.
Yeah.
And the trust, like the bond between actors, extras, anyone performing stunts.
Yeah, extras being the people the martial artists beat the ever-loving shit out of. And the best example I can think of this is like Jackie Chan, who one has his own stunt team, because obviously they're the people he trusts to work with the most. And also because all of his movies end with a blooper reel showing how much shit he ate, messing up certain like fight scenes and stunts. And like in specific regards to Jackie Chan, he's known to do literally thousands of takes of scenes to get them right, and he will rehearse with extras and like, you know, his choreography team for sometimes months to ensure that the fight scene goes exactly the way it's planned. Because like, you know, to minimise the risk of being hit in the nutsack by a broom handle to its absolute minimum.
I know Jackie Chan's actually broken a lot of his bones. How many has he actually broken?
According to, like, you know, the legend, he's broken every bone in his body at least once, which I think is hyperbole, but there's a great bit at the end, I think it's like Jackie Chan Adventures, where someone asks him, oh, hey Jackie, how often do you get injured? And he just starts pointing to various, he plays head, shoulders, knees and toes with shit that he's broken during movies.
Face, shoulder, nose 3 times, elbow. Cannot remember.
And there's even movies where he's in them with broken bones. So I don't know what the name of the movie is, but it's one where he's on a jet ski and he broke his foot before filming it. And in the shot that made it into the film is him with his pot on, which they painted to look like a shoe. I can't believe like some of the things that actors actually go through. And like Jackie Chan's the most visible example, but this is like in most martial arts movies. Because obviously if you've got a career that revolves entirely around pretending to get kicked in the face, every now and again you're going to get accidentally kicked in the face. The one that always gets me, it's not even one where he hurts himself a lot, it's just one where I imagine it and just go, and it's the one where he's fighting with the ladder, and the lad is a big aluminum like ladder, and it snaps shut on his fingertips, and it's like, oh, but then he still does the scene. And it's like, oh, Jackie, why? Why, Jackie? In specific regards to the 2 Raid movies, according to the fight scene choreographers, one of the difficulties of choreographing the fight scenes in those 2 movies was finding a balance between having it look like the actors were actually hitting each other and avoiding having the actors accidentally break the jaw of an extra or punch through the fabric of reality.
There's always those famous stories of an actor saying to the person who's supposed to punch them, this needs to look real,
Just do
it for real.
Yeah, and I think if you watch The Raid, there's clearly moments in that film where the extra just drew the short straw and said, I'll just take the hit for real. And that's true of like all martial arts movies where, like, if you watch a martial arts movie, or at least a decent one, chances are when someone gets hit, they are being hit for real. And that's the inherent difficulty of choreographing a good-looking fight scene, because you have to find the balance between making the hit look real, but not having it feel real. Because you want to get good shots, and it's really, really difficult to get a good shot of someone being punched without actually punching them. And that's why, like, trained martial artists in movies, like, you know, rehearse fight scenes for so like long beforehand. If you don't do this, you get fight scenes like the ones in the first season of Iron Fist, where you have to cut around the fact that none of the people like on screen know what the fuck they're doing. And it ends up just looking terrible. Whereas you get like, compare that to like a fight scene from The Raid, where like it's an unbroken shot of just like people kicking the ever-loving shit out of each other. And as I mentioned, 90% of the hits you see in those movies are real. It's just like the actors and the extras like knew like how hard the person was going to hit and knew where it was coming from because they'd rehearsed it so many times. So they knew exactly how much to lean into it at the exact moment. And it shows in the movie because some of the hits now look fucking brutal.
So before we get on to talking about the stunt team,
Yes.
out of the Raid 1 and 2, pick someone who you think eats shit the hardest.
The guy in the Raid 2 gets hit by the car. And the thing is, immediately following like that thing. Like, the main character jumps out of the car and beats the shit out of a lot of guys. And I showed you this fight scene, didn't I, for the guy who gets the most undeserved beatdown. Because the main character goes through all of, like, you know, these bad guys and he knocks them all out with one punch. But there's just one guy right at the end who, for no reason, he punches him like 40 extra times while walking towards a flight of stairs. It's like, what did that one guy do to deserve that level of beatdown?
So how long did it take the stunt team for the raid to learn how to fight and pull punches the way they did?
About 18 months, you know, for the Raid 2, which is how long the fight choreography took. Just think about that, 18 months. Like, the length of time it takes Disney to make like, an entire fucking Star Wars movie. These guys spent that plus an extra 6 months, like, you know, rehearsing just the fight scenes to control their punches and sick-ass elbow drops. So they hit, but not hard enough to cause any lasting injury. In addition to all that, the film's star, Iko Uwais, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, personally spent several months training with many of the extras he was going to beat the shit out of during the course of the, like, each movie, like, to build a level of mutual trust between themselves, so that in the very real event, one of them accidentally kicked the other one, like, you know, too hard, they wouldn't try and retaliate in a later scene by kicking them equally as hard back in the face. That's a risk of something that could happen, isn't it? Like, if he accidentally kicked an extra too hard and that extra got annoyed about it, in a later fight scene they could do the same thing to him. So what he did is he worked with him and explained, look, I am going to accidentally kick you in the head just a little bit too hard. I'm really, really sorry. Let's try to not make that happen. But if it does, let's agree to not, like, you know, be dicks about it. And that's a really adult way of approaching that, isn't it? Look, mate, I am going to accidentally elbow drop you in the head, but just know I don't mean anything by it. This reminds me in a lot of ways of the world of wrestling. I know if anyone says it, wrestling isn't real, but similar to, like, martial arts movies, wrestlers have to choreograph fights. And there's a great story from the world of wrestling about Hardcore Holly, who was apparently a huge dick to new wrestlers. And he wouldn't, like, you know, pull his punches in the way he's supposed to. He'd hit people for real. And he wouldn't, like, lean into throws and things like that. And just become dead weight to make the other wrestlers look bad. And apparently he tried this once against Brock Lesnar. And as we all know, in his prime, Brock Lesnar was a fucking animal. And the story goes that, like, Hardcore Holly's like, you know what, I'm going to haze the new guy. I am not going to let him powerbomb me, because I'm Hardcore Holly. I'm not being powerbombed. And, like, he was like, he hit Brock Lesnar for real during the fight, and obviously Lesnar got pissed off. So when Lesnar was going to put him in a powerbomb, Hardcore Holly went dead weight. But as I mentioned, Brock Lesnar is a fucking animal, so he lifted him regardless and slammed him straight down on his neck.
Powerbomb here, and once again, Holly. Oh!
When you do that against a wrestler who's not being an asshole, they will lean into it for you and help you with the lift. Hardcore Holly went dead weight and tried to stay on the floor. Brock Lesnar did not want him to stay on the floor, and he lifted him up and he spiked him onto his neck. And that's what the people working on the Raid movies wanted to avoid. Someone being a dick in that way and intentionally trying to hurt someone just to try and get their own back or try and show that they're better than someone else. They said, like, look, we're all, even like, I'm the star, yes, but without you, this movie will not be made. Let's just all agree that we're not going to, like, let ego get in the way of this. Let's just work together and make a great movie. And the end result was a fucking great movie. And of course, this clip. That story about Brock Lesnar always cracks me up, because apparently, like, Hardcore Holly was just a huge asshole, and that you can find clips of him, like, with new wrestlers, just beating the loving shit out of them, like, actually punching them for real, just because he knows they can't do anything about it, because obviously he's more famous than them and he's got more pull, so if they hit him back, he can ruin their career. And Brock Lesnar's like, nah, I'm not having this. I'm going to powerbomb you. And I was like, no, you're not going to powerbomb me. I'm like, no. You're going to be powerbombed. So the only choice is how hard you're going to be powerbombed. And apparently the answer was hard enough to break his fucking neck. But it's the idea, though, that it's like, no, I am better than you. You're not doing this. It's like, have you seen Brock Lesnar? Have you seen the size of that man's chest? It's happening whether you want it to or not. And there's the thing as well, like, if you do a lot of the throws in wrestling correctly, they don't hurt at all. I think it's Big E from, I forget what it is now, The New Day. He's like this big, huge black guy. They say he's the best person to get thrown by because like his finishing move just feels like lying on a pillow because he's so gentle with you. It seems to be like Mark Henry, like the really huge, massive wrestlers because they're so strong. They can all their throws are as powerful and as painful as they look because they're so strong. They control it all the way down, so you just land really softly. And I like the idea of just a huge wrestler putting someone to bed with a power bomb. Like Undertaker taking his like daughter to last riding her into the fucking crib. It's obviously, yes, the fighting is fake, but the shit they do isn't, and they can whoop your fucking ass, as Hardcore Holly learned in the most direct manner possible. Just boom!
Seeing as we're talking about wrestling, what do you reckon your favourite wrestling match ever was?
Oh, it's Mankind versus Triple H.
Right.
It's the one where Triple H pedigrees Mankind onto the thumbtacks.
A second pedigree on the thumbtacks.
I remember watching that and just going, how? How is this man alive? I can't believe this is a thing that was allowed to air on television. And like that's closely followed by Mankind versus The Undertaker, the famous one where Mankind gets thrown off the top of the Hell in a Cell, because apparently they didn't tell anyone they were going to do that.
Wait, is Mankind the name of the wrestler?
Yeah.
I just thought it was everyone versus... Okay, carry on.
No, Mankind, it's Mick Foley,
right,
who's wrestling The Undertaker, and it's the one where he gets thrown off the top of the Hell in a Cell. It's the famous line, by God, he's broken in half. Like, they didn't plan on that, and apparently people were super pissed off about it. That match especially is one that Mick Foley says, yeah, I kind of regret that because like my wife and kids were in the audience when it happened.
We talked before though about when wrestling just goes to like the ridiculous gimmicks.
I want it. I want
like the Japanese ones with the invisible wrestler.
I want wrestling to just lean into. I want like people coming back to pretend they're other wrestlers from the future. I want wrestling matches where they're interrupted by that wrestler from the future telling you have to lose this. I want it to become Mortal Kombat basically, and I want everyone to wear the same outfits. I just want to see a wrestler come down dressed as Raiden with the hat, just firing lightning bolts out his fingers. The one that I heard was like when the Undertaker was about to retire, what you should have had him do is soul transfer into another wrestler. And just say that The Undertaker is a mantle passed down amongst wrestlers, and have him soul transfer into another wrestler so his streak doesn't end. So the streak can just go on forever, because that was the thing, wasn't it?
That's how they could have made Roman Reigns popular.
Just
they
make
should have
The
Undertaker transfer into Raw, and then The Undertaker just his body falls through the stage, and then you never see him again.
No, all you do is like when he gets pinned, and when he lost at WrestleMania, spoilers for 3 years ago, just like have him soul transfer as the winner, so technically he still won. And then you've got to, like, I want that dumb shit to happen.
But then imagine the next one is Roman Reigns coming in dressed as the Undertaker from a coffin.
That'd be so good.
I need to watch more wrestling.
You need
it
to
sounds
watch
so fun.
Oh, it's so good. Just watch old wrestling. It's all great.